Hi, welcome to this episode. So far at this point, we have a decent number of articles added from our administration. So in this episode, we are going to look at the way we handle the articles from the administrative interface. So first of all, we need to list the articles we have in our system. That's how we are able to access them. So to do that, we have to head off to our administration. So we have admin dashboard, or we can go to the admin login. It will redirect us to admin dashboard. From the admin dashboard, we have access to the management menu, which gives us the link content, and from which we can now access the content page. Or you could type admin_dashboard content to come here directly if you are signed in. In fact, talking of that, do we have the capacity to come here if we are not signing? So to do so, we have to check the page here, which is the admin content signing. And once we check this page, we could see that it does not have the guard we had on the admin dashboard, on which we prevent people from accessing the page if they are not signed in. So in fact, I think this is an opportunity to abstract this whole guard into a different file which we can require every time. So we'll remove it and create a new file, name it admin guard. So in a bigger project, these are going to be called middlewares. So .php, admin guard.php. So in the code here, we can enter our simple PHP code. So all it will do is to start the session. So I think we should leave the session because this is a different role. It does not have to do with the guarding. So we do this, and then we keep the guard just as it is. So once we have that, anywhere we need that guard, we can just insert the file. So we can do require once admin_guard.php. So by doing so, we should have the same thing all over the place. So now we can go back to our admin dashboard content page and then insert it, and of course we close the PHP. So by doing so, we now bring in the guard on the admin content. So this basically means we cannot access this page if we are not signed in. Alright, so let's now move on to the actual purpose of today's post. So if we look at the page, we have here the list of articles we go through. So here we can see it is in a table. So we have a checkbox, and then for each checkbox we have the article title, and then we have the date of publication and the edit button. So it's a standard list but using table. So each one of the rows is a TR, it's a table row. So what we need to do is to fetch our articles, existing articles, and then loop through them, and now per article will now display a row, and then fill in the gap with the text. So this sounds like something we have already done. We have already fetched the articles, and that sounds like at the index page we have done something like that. So we required the connection to the database. Using the database, we selected all the articles by limiting them to 3, and from there we got the articles. So this is the same thing we need to do here. So we can copy this. We go back to our code. Right after the guard, we can now paste the code we copied. So our connection to databases, to the database. Then we fetch the articles, and we could also limit here, because remember we have pagination here, so we need to limit to, but I will limit here to just 4. Since our prototype has 4 here, it looks okay to have up to 4. So once that done, we execute the statement, and then we'll get the articles. Okay, so the fetch object. Also, we could see that I have PDO fetch object. In one of the previous videos, I tried to work on the settings we can have. So you can see that every time I do fetch, I added the PDO fetch object. That could be handled in the database connection settings here. PDO at. So the attributes the arrow mode, we have that, but we want the fetch mode, I think, fetch mode, and that is going to be the same fetch mode we had over there. So by doing so, normally if we ignore this parameter here, we should be able to get the articles, and each one of the articles will be as an object. So undefined class attribute fetch mode. So I have to go through this and then find the exact parameter. It is so the constant here is attribute default fetch mode. So by doing that, we apply this mode to all our fetch object functions. So everywhere, we don't need this anymore here. So now at this point, we have our articles in hand, so we can go ahead and go through here. So we'll be like, we'll open the shorthand PHP for inch articles as an article. Then we open the shorthand and close it here. So we can end the shorthand here, PHP end for inch, and we close it. So once that's done, we are not going to loop throughout the articles and display all these rows per article. We just need one row per article. So we clear the other one. So at this point, we now pick the article and then pass various details here. So the first thing we need to fix is the article title. So we'll go ahead and do article, and then we do the title, and we close the echo shorthand. We use the same echo shorthand to bring in the date. So we have the date, I think it is published on, or let's say I think it is created on field. So if you check the database, we have created at. So we would like to display just the created at for the administrator, and the edit and so on, we can ignore that for now. So let's see what we have. So we are getting an error that says that trying to get property title of none, so on. So this basically means we did not get the data. So articles as article. So let's see inside here, what do we have? Why can't we get the articles? So let me try to var dump what we have in this variable, semicolon. So it seems we got the articles, but if I look at the data, I can see that it is fetched as an array instead of an object like I said. So if I check my database connection again and I bring the video fetch object and pass it as a parameter, what do we have? We get an object and we get the articles. So this is I think a conflict in the PDO settings here. So I will go through that again and fix it underground, and as an assignment you should also go through your code and try to find out how to fix that issue. So we got our articles as objects, and we can now access them as such, and with the date of publication. So here we have a mass action checkbox. So it means this checkbox needs to have some information that relates it to the actual article. And also we can notice that from here we forgot to add our mass action select box. So we could add it right now. So we have here content. So right under it we have this here. We can just add let's say a div, and inside that div we now add a select box, and that select box will have just one option or two options. The first option is choose, or let's say we call it action, and the second option is going to be delete. We said that's the only action we would like to take in mass edit. We cannot do mass editing now. So and the select name is going to be mass action. Great. So if we do this, we should have it now. So we can see that it does not follow the styling principles we had with our forms. So we could go to our stars page. In the stars page where we have input, we could now add a select element as well to inherit the same styling the input and text areas are having. So if we reload, we should have it here. So this doesn't look like our star, but I think it adds up to something cool. So also I would like to add an inline star here to change the color into, let's say, some black. So 222. By doing so, we have black, but the text is becoming now darker. So I think this is a conflict. So let me use something really obvious, which is lavender, which can appear. Okay, this seems to be a challenge. So I need a sharper color. Let's say yellow or a tomato. Let me go ahead, tomato. So this is a bit obvious, both on the black and then on the white. So this is the mass action we can take after checking each one of these fields. So now let's tackle that input, that checkbox. So basically what will happen after the user selects these field changes is that this form will be submitted, and when the form is submitted, we'll pick these input boxes and then get the values, and the values are going to have the IDs of the for each individual article. So we are going to add the value for this one, which is the ID, and then we take the next article, we get the value, which is an ID, the article's ID. So the submission of this form will actually submit these input boxes, these check boxes, and then this select form. So we'll check if the action is delete. Now for each one of these articles, we are going to get through the check boxes. If the checkbox was checked, we'll get the value, otherwise we won't get anything. So once we get all these IDs, we can now ask PDO, okay, send a query to the database and then delete every single article which ID is part of the following list, and that's all, and it will work like that. So let's go ahead. By doing so, now all the checkboxes should have their ID assigned to them. So if we check it by doing so, we have the input type checkbox, and then you can see the value here is 1. So if you go to the next article, we should see that the value is 2, and so on. So after the value, we also need to assign them an ID and then a name. And I would like to make the name a bit composed of the let's say the article's ID. So we need the article's ID, and then maybe will be like let's say check. So check underscore, then the article ID, that will be the name. So if we inspect again and we look at it, so we should see check underscore 1. For the next one, we check, that's the next TR. If you check the input, we should see check underscore 2. So the same thing goes on. So they are going to have different names, different IDs, and different values. So that will allow us to handle the mass deletion. So in the next episode, we are going to look at how to do the edit. So from that episode, we can now handle the mass deletion. So thank you so much for watching this one. Kindly consider liking, subscribing and to our channel, and please spread the word by sharing these videos with your friends and colleagues. And thank you. See you in the next episode.